I told my husband his culture is garbage and refused to include it in our family life. My husband and I live in the U.S. Northeast, where I am from. John moved here for work several years ago, from the deep south of the U.S. where he grew up, raised with Christian holidays, but never attending church. Coincidentally, shortly before everything hit, John's parents and his childhood best friend Dan and his wife decided to move here as well. This past weekend was the first that U.S. 3 couples have gathered together since any of us moved here. We had a distanced picnic at our house. John sat down 2 to 3 minutes after I did, as he was settling our kid into his pen in the yard with us. Dan and my FIL immediately started to jokingly rip on him for being whipped and doing my job of parenting our child while he was supposed to be allowed to just catch up with the 2 other men. I was trying to politely deflect when it turned to how mean I was for not fixing him a plate and serving him before serving myself. If I thought a certain dish would run out before he got to it, or if he had asked me to, I of course would have. Dan and Phil continued to brag about how their families do it right, where they handle the outside chores, while their wives handle the inside chores, including the care of Dan and his wife's 2 children. I think it's important to note here that both currently live in rented condos that by their nature do not have outdoor chores, and both their wives have always worked full-time, as I do. The whole day was kind of wrecked by that start, and I was frustrated when John left with Dan and Phil to go for a walk, and left me to do all the cleanup alone while also looking after our kid. I expected John to apologize when he returned hours later, but instead, he got at me for making him look bad in front of his friend and dad. He brought up how a traditional division of labor is a huge part of Southern culture, and how I was being disrespectful to his background by forcing Northern culture onto him and his family. He said he's been building up a lot of resentment the past few months that I make him do half the chores and childcare, since in his culture, women do the chores and hands-on childcare, and men do the fun parenting, the discipline, mow the grass, and bring in the cars for oil changes when needed. I was saint but honest and told him Southern culture is garbage. It's bigotry. I lived in John's home state for 8 years, and I saw how Southern hospitality is reserved only for those in your in-group. Deviate from the norm, be queer, non-Christian, a POC, a liberal, a non-traditional woman, and they turn on you viciously. Does every single person act like that always? No, but it's the culture. John is livid and says his culture is just as valid as that of other global regions, religions, and ethnic groups, so I am the bigot by not compromising with him here and incorporating aspects of his culture into our family life the way I would if his culture was Islamic or Asian or whatnot.